our lead person in the United States. So tell us about your team.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Just want to make sure you're out there. Thank you. We turned around things just because we didn't want to just be talking to the front of the room, so I didn't mean to be totally dominating with this presence, but I hope that it works for you. We wanted to discuss the U.S. market for organic cotton and organic cotton products with you today, and then also we're going to be talking about the challenges and opportunities. What do I do with this? I just press it, yeah, I agree.
Press the big green button.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not yet.
Not yet, when you're ready.
It's like eject me or something. We have three incredible speakers. We're going to be starting off with Marcy Zaroff, who is the president and founder of MetaWare, and is also on the Organic Trade Association and the Textile Exchange Board. She's going to be talking about the market mostly and impediments and opportunities in the United States. Jimmy Weedle is the president of the Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Cooperative, which also goes by TOCMAC. And Jimmy's going to be talking about what's going on with U.S. organic cotton production, and again, challenges and opportunities. Sally Fox, one of the original colored cotton farmers, organic cotton farmers, is going to be talking about what's going on with these incredible naturally colored cottons and other specialty cottons. So Marcy, you want to start off?
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Marcy. Okay, so first I'm going to give you a lay of the land, wearing my Organic Trade Association hat, of what's going on in the United States in the market for organic. So you have an industry that has grown to be a $50 billion industry. 83% of American consumers today are buying organic food, at least occasionally. You have had double-digit growth rates for 20 consecutive years. You have organic food farmers and pockets of organic agriculture in America showing increases in household incomes of $2,000 a household. Poverty rates are decreasing, communities are thriving, and on average, organic food farmers are making 35% more money in the United States. You have 52% of the organic shoppers in the US are millennials. The number one reason people embrace organic is because they have children. Only 10% of millennials have had children. So think of where the growth trajectory is for organic, right? Now, let's talk about fiber. Fiber is the fastest growing non-food sector in America. Faster than beauty products, faster than pet products, faster than cleaning products, faster than flowers. We have a huge opportunity. Today, that millennial consumer is going online and they're asking questions that one generation before them couldn't ask, such as in food, where did my food come from, i.e. the farm-to-table movement. Now they're asking, where is my clothing coming from? What's in it, who's growing it, where's it being made, and i.e. the farm-to-closet, farm-to-home movement. This is a huge opportunity, yet we have roadblocks. So the roadblocks in trying to build the US market are, number one, there's kind of three stigmas that have gone with this. The old school consumer thinking was you have to give up style, quality, fit, color, comfort, hand. You know, it's going to be crunchy, frumpy, boxy, beige, boring. It would feel like a potato sack. You know, that was the organic stigma. Now you have this supply chain who isn't anywhere near where the consumer is in America. And they're saying, oh, we had an issue in production. Oh, that's because it was organic. So you have this sort of stigma on the production side. The second stigma is cost. Oh, organic is only for the rich. I can't afford it. It's too expensive. Well, when you look around the world at all the organic production, the key to success from my 25 years in creating, marketing organic textile products, both in apparel and home, is verticality. And what you have around the world, where there are successful models of organic production, are vertical supply chains. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're all under one roof, but they're in the family, they're in the community. The dyer, the spinner, the knitter, the cut and sew, they're either all under one roof or part of it, or they're all working together as a unit. In America, for the last 5 years, I've been trying to use organic cotton as a lever to rebuild US manufacturing through my company MetaWare. And by adding value in that supply chain, by adding value in the story that we tell from source to story, there seems to be, as you connect the dots from food to fiber, a big opportunity. However, America manufacturing is totally fractured, all over the place, and nobody wants to take responsibility for their productions. And if you talk to most people who've been manufacturing in America the last few years, it is a bear, right? So how do we rebuild manufacturing to then serve as a catalyst for increasing and expanding organic agriculture in America? The third challenge is integrity. So you hear about these wonderful countries like Turkey and Peru that don't allow GMO seeds, yay! Or India that doesn't allow GMO seeds in any food, only in cotton, right? And then you have the USA, where 98% of our agriculture is GM. So another big challenge we have in the United States. But here, a lot of people in this room probably are from the United States, and I can tell you we have a huge market opportunity with all those consumers eating organic food and buying now organic beauty products. But we need to create that connecting of the dots. We need to all work together and collaborate and forge partnerships. My favorite saying is 1 + 1 = 11, because we're much stronger together than we are apart. And demand transformation of agriculture in America, where right now, even on the food side, there's 12% demand for organic food. There's only 5% supply. 7% of organic products are being imported in just to meet the demand of the consumer. And that consumer, that young consumer, they're asking for organic clothing. They're asking for organic bedding products. They get it, they've woken up where they're talking about an organic lifestyle. They're not just talking about organic food anymore. So, in the spirit of my company MetaWare, our vision is to be a turnkey solution provider, now that I've laid out all these obstacles, to create manufacturing in America by pulling together the supply chain. We have a 40,000 square foot factory in Virginia, but it still has a lot of broken layers. We're still trying to build on that and marry technology with sustainability at the same time that we can work with the farmers in Texas, and then use India as a bridge to help build US manufacturing and US cotton agriculture, where MetaWare started a farm project called Reset, which is regenerate the environment, society, and economy through textiles. So we're bringing in, right now, certified organic yarns, before I started Reset, from India to help build that story of US manufacturing. And Reset will be another lever to hopefully be that transition into more organic agriculture. And at the end, bringing all this together, the key to the success of the US market in both bringing organic products, organic textile products to the eyes and the minds of the consumer who wants it, as well as helping to rebuild manufacturing and organic agriculture, is connecting source to story. The internet has changed the game. Social media has changed the game. I've been in this industry a really long time, and we have the power right now to tell these amazing farmer stories that we never had before. That was always like our big question. We're doing such good stuff. It's like water for chocolate. But like, how do we tell these stories to the consumer? We have so much of that opportunity now to work together, to collaborate, because we're much stronger together than we are apart. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I am an organic farmer. You need to
I do need to click. You're not Marcy.
Oh, we need the picture. There it is. Okay, and this is one of my fields. I'm actually an organic producer. But my side job is I'm president of the Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Co-op, which was founded in 1993, and we're located on the high plains of Texas, where most farmers, most of the U.S. organic cotton is grown. We have about 40 organic producers who produce organic cotton on over 20,000 acres. The greatest challenge for U.S. organic cotton growers is risk. And typically you think of weeds, insects, and weather as the guilty culprits. But the reality is most U.S. organic producers have learned how to mitigate those risks. Other risks we have are contamination from chemical drift, which can render a crop unmarketable. Also, GMO contamination, which is beyond the control of the organic producer. Those are risks we cannot control. The market risk is the greatest risk we have, though, as U.S. organic cotton production in the U.S. has been increasing at a much slower rate than it has in other parts of the world. The opportunity for increased organic production in the U.S. is huge, but only if brands are willing to step up to the plate and purchase organic cotton grown in the U.S. Since the U.S. is the largest market, or one of the largest markets for organic products that Marcy mentioned, how come, or why is it that we have such a small share of the world's organic cotton production? And that is primarily because U.S. organic cotton producers have a high regulatory burden, much higher than most other parts of the world. We have to provide a higher wage and living standard for our employees, and we have to compete with other industries that are also paying those higher wages. Our capital costs are much higher as well. Thus, our cotton has to be priced somewhat higher than the rest of the world for organic production to work in the U.S. And the other crops that we can grow in the U.S., such as corn, wheat, soybeans, are all priced 2 to 3 times the conventional market, whereas organic cotton is only priced maybe 40 or 50% more than the conventional market. Also, as Marcy alluded to a moment ago, there is a very limited textile industry infrastructure left in the U.S., and so it is difficult for brands to process U.S. grown cotton and have it processed in the U.S. So one of the other questions that comes about is, what are organic farmers in the U.S. doing to prevent or to reduce GMO contamination in their crops? First, in the U.S., it is illegal for farmers to save any GMO seed. The GMO seeds are highly and tightly monitored and controlled by the seed companies that produce them, and farmers will be sued and or heavily penalized if they plant those seeds. So they're really not available to plant, so we don't have that issue. The second is, as organic farmers in the U.S., we've been planting varieties of seeds that were developed before any of the GMO varieties were ever created. And we've been continuing to save these seeds year after year. However, there is some risk of contamination, both at the gen level and at the seed de-lining level, for some level of GMO contamination. And then third, a few local seed companies are still continuing to develop non-GMO varieties, but they have very little interest in maintaining the low GMO, so we really can't be guaranteed what the GMO level is in those varieties they're developing. It is unfortunate, but I think most of us in this room realize that zero contamination of any crop that has a GMO trait is practically improbable now. And third, what are the opportunities for future growth of production of U.S. organic cotton? The opportunity for increased organic cotton production in the U.S. is huge, but here again, only if brands are willing to step up to the plate and purchase U.S. grown organic cotton. The high plains of Texas is ideally suited to organic cotton production, and if the industry brands are interested in investing in real environmental benefits, the potential for growth in organic cotton acreage in the U.S. is tremendous. As the area of the High Plains already produces over 30% of the U.S. cotton, this area is highly suited to converting to organic. And of course, the U.S. conventional cotton industry is one of the largest users of synthetic chemicals and fertilizers, all of which are allowed with BCI certification, even GMOs. So when brands purchase BCI as their environmental statement, they are really not doing any real help for the environment, particularly in the U.S. They are not helping solve any real environmental problems. So purchasing U.S. grown organic cotton is the only way to make a real difference in the U.S. organic environment.
Well, greetings, all of you. like many of you, when the idea of organic cotton came to me, I seized upon it as my way I could help save the world. And I think we all feel that in our hearts, or we wouldn't still be trying to do this impossible Sisyphean task. For me, the idea of organic cotton came to me when I saw the first naturally colored cotton in the breed. I was working for a breeder, a cotton breeder, and he had in the drawer some brown cotton seeds. And I asked him where they had come from, and he told me that there was a USDA breeder who believed that the naturally colored cottons held the key to natural pest and insect resistance, and if only he could get cotton breeders to breed in these traits, that all these pesticides could be reduced or eliminated. And so I asked him, well, why aren't we breeding these cottons? And he said, there's no market for naturally colored cotton. And I was in my 20s and he was in his 70s. And I said, well, why don't we make a market for this cotton? And he said, why don't you make a market for this cotton? And he gave me the seeds and he gave me greenhouse space. And that was 1982. And so it began. And my vision was that if there was only a seed, a seed that could be planted and grown, and farmers could grow it and it was innately resistant to diseases and pests, maybe organic cotton could get a chance. Just as a background, I started an organic gardening club in my high school in 1972. I was already an organic fanatic. I only ate organic food that I could find back then, right? So I thought, oh, this is it, right? And so I worked on it. I had a job as a scientist, but I worked every day. Every day I had off, I worked on my cotton. Weekends, holidays. Finally, I quit my job when I got my first customer from Japan, who remains my only customer. And I have samples of their things that you can come and see. This is Taishogo's work. They buy my cotton. I breed and grow specialty organic cotton still. And I've supported the work by just selling the cotton. I don't have any foundational support or government support. In fact, the government outlawed my cotton, forcing me to move twice. So the fact is that organic cotton is marginalized already, and naturally colored organic cotton is even more marginalized. And so to think that that funding for organic seed breeding will come my way, it's not going to happen. Universities can't get close to it because the industry is still so against it. But I believe eventually there will be a time where people will use these naturally colored cottons again. They are more pest resistant. They are more disease resistant. They're easier to grow organically than white cotton, unless someone bred the cotton for organic production, which I've been doing all these 37 years. So I know I'm getting time here. I just want to mention that in general, the extra long staple cottons and the specialty cottons in the United States are grown in the parts of the country that have the most pest pressure. And so to grow them organically is more expensive and more risky for the farmer than in the West Texas area, where these extra long staple and colored cottons are grown. In the 90s and in the 80s, people were traditionally spraying 11, 12 times for pests. So these cottons, to grow them in these places of such extreme pressure it's a great triumph. It means it can be done, it has been done, it will be done, and I really think we can pull this. I think that we can figure this out. I think it's possible with organic cotton to save the world, and I think every one of you is part of it. So thank you. Keep up your work. You matter.
That's right, we can all save the world. By the time that we leave this room, each of you can save the world. We did have a couple of questions that came up, and so in our discussion earlier this morning, but probably one of the most important ones was the issue of integrity, and how do we all prove that our products are organic? This is probably the number one problem, maybe it's not behind GMOs, so maybe two problems, in the United States, is really trying to figure out claims. We see claims all the time. My products are organic, my pillows are organic, my sheets are organic, no certifications. So we really strongly, we want to make a very strong message to especially, well, the entire supply chain. Just make sure that your products are certified so that when the claims are made, they can be backed up. Without that, we risk saving the world because the consumers will ask. They will say, who is behind? Who made your products? How can you prove that your products are organic? And then the house of cards can fall. So that was our biggest message, I think, from this morning, was just making sure that any claims can be backed up. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Sandra, did you have a question about GM?
No,
Wanna ask?
because we did, a question came up earlier, actually, in our planning discussion. Thank you for reminding me. About the effort to create one standard for GMO testing. And I was thinking that Rahul is over here, and he might want to talk about it. Not that I'm putting you on the spot, but the most important thing was, we were saying, none of this matters, especially in the United States, but none of this matters if we have GMO contamination of our organic product. If we have high levels of GMOs, who's going to buy our stuff? They are buying it because it is supposed to be pure. So, do you want to just give a quick update?
Only with the permission of Bart and Crispin, because this is an effort which is being fully funded by OCA. It is an ISO international workshop agreement where the attempt is to come to a conclusion as to what can be tested for the presence of GM in cotton and at what stage it can be tested and how, of course. So we hope that that will come through the next year. I'm not 100% sure when. We've already had one stakeholder consultation. It was a registration that everybody was invited to be part of. The second one is in November, and there's a meeting in January. And after that, hopefully within a few months, we should have a document that any and every standard can actually reference, saying this test this way. Unfortunately, it's a test which is qualitative only, but at least we have something which can be referenced, because right now people are testing anything and everything, any which way they want. Does that help? If you want, I can talk the entire day.
But thank you. That was really a big question, and yes, thank you very much for funding this vital standard of testing, because without it, everybody can use different tests, get different levels of GMOs. No one knows what to believe. So, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions for the United States?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I've learned this. Ostensibly, I've heard, as it relates to BCI, that it doesn't really behoove U.S. farmers to participate in the program because their standards are already up to BCI practices, whereas effectively that could stand to reason it's financing overseas cotton growers, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just wonder if you, or if any, of the Indian or other kind of growers can speak to this a little, just because it's one of many anecdotal, what organic versus BCI versus, or if Textile Exchange has, any kind of position on that. Sorry, loaded question.
I shall hand over to the official mouthpiece.
I'm not sure it's so official, but From our perspective, we talk about a portfolio approach to improving cotton, and we realise that there are a number of standards out there, and some are doing really great stuff in different things. And Fairtrade's focusing here. BCI as an entry standard is looking at scale and mainstreaming, which is really helpful. Ideally, we like to see a continuum that leads to agroecology. Somebody mentioned it's not only about the certification, as I think we all agree, but obviously integrity is key. So we see there's a number of ways you can get there as long as we're all striving to get there, and there's different roles that different standards play. I also think with organic, there's such a lot of innovation, research and development, know-how, traditional knowledge, cultural knowledge, that to untap and to value and to be able to get that knowledge into the wider ecosystem of agriculture is really critical and key, and something that the organic community can really contribute to. And how you find a business model that really supports that and promotes that and allows the organic farmers to flourish is the challenge, as we talked about before. But yeah, I don't think it's a black and white situation. Thanks.
Okay. It's 1 point from Marcy, and then we'll move on to our next and final region.
So this will probably be covered in different places throughout the next few days, but something to take into consideration, we're all in the room, talking about organic cotton, that, is really a clear point of difference. So soil is one of our greatest solutions to climate change. When soil is healthy and filled with biodiversity and the ecosystem is thriving, it acts like a sponge to sequester carbon out of the atmosphere. Think of soil as the skin of the earth, just like our skin absorbs for our body. It's the largest organ for absorption in our body. When soil is vitally, it's thriving, it's got, all of its living ecosystems, it is on our side to help us. When soil is dead, when soil is, ridden with pesticides and monoculture, which goes with GM agriculture, is the form of agriculture that isn't building and providing the nutrients needed, but instead depleting and taking the nutrients out and not replacing them, it no longer can act as that, opportunity for humanity. We have all hands on deck right now, and we have to remember this isn't just about, the organic cotton that we're putting on our skin, or the cotton we're putting on our skin, which is another whole piece of this. It's also, what are we doing to the soil of the earth right now? And how can that help us? How can we shift the paradigm of that to create a truly better and sustainable model of cotton agriculture?
Great, thank you. Errol wants to say something now. You have 30 seconds.
I wanted to say that also it's not just the pesticides, it's the fertilizers. So when people say, oh, I'm growing cotton without pesticides, it's the nitrogen fertilizers that are the main killer of the soil microbes. And it's the soil microbes that we're tending when we are farming organically. And so yes, it's important to reduce pesticide use, and it took me a long time to realize, since I was an entomologist and only focused on pests, but it's actually the fertilizer that is the main culprit of the death of the soil microbes. And the death of the soil microbes, that's it. The soil, it takes a long time, at least 3 years, to revive anything, and it takes longer for it really to develop and sequester carbon. And the carbon sequestering in an organic cotton field is amazing, and I think the main way to think about it is that the root of cotton is a perennial, grown as an annual. You want me to stop? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks to the US for making their contribution. And Crispin just wants to say something before we move on.